Welcome back to the good points and bad points of episode 3 of Cosmic Fury. Let's jump straight into it. First off, a good point is the fact that Billy mentions that he became the Wolf Ranger after losing his powers as the Triceratops Ranger. I absolutely love these sorts of reference because it's just a callback to saying, hey, do you remember this? But absolutely love all references like this. Please, I wish we could have had more. One of the bad points is Ion talking about Zato, how they must find Zato, how must they go after Zato. They need to bring Zato, and I understand the fact that he wants his friend back. I really do, but it's really fucking irritating. Like, it's just, it feels like it's every other sentence where it's like, I've got to go find Zato, we've got to go find him. And it's like, dude, your entire like base is on the far side of the universe. There is no way you're going to be able to go find him. And if you did find him, where is he? It just feels like Ion's constantly going on about this. And I will talk about this very briefly. Everyone who shit on Troy for saying stuff like, he always talks about like Robo Knight, like fucking Ion takes the flogging cake on this one because it's always all the time. He doesn't look at the picture around what happens. It's just irritating. So that is definitely, to me, a bad point. Another bad point is when Izzy constantly puts Fern down by saying like, oh, you can't come out with us, you can't fight with us, you can't be around us while we do this, you just stay here in the ship. I get the whole point again, where she wants to protect her girlfriend. I do get this. I'm sure that Fern can fight, I'm sure that she could help out, and like, you know, if something bad happened, like a monster came along, she could hold back while the Rangers use whatever they've got to fight. I get it, but all the way through the series, it just feels like it's constant. We're gonna put you down. You can't go out on the ship. You can't help. You might as well just sit and be on your phone or sit and watch TV. That's all that she should do. And it irritates me. Why? Why would you do that? A good point is the fact that they put product placement and you see a Rhea Soldier key. It's kind of cool that Billy is using these keys to kind of figure out a plan to give them their powers. But to me, it's a little bit, oh, okay. It's just blatantly in your face. Here's the key. Look at this. Look at the key. And then that's it. A good point right now is the fact that the key and the staff actually work together to actually show resonance of energy from the morphing grid. So there is a glimmer of hope, and we all knew something like this would happen. Another good point is one of my favorite lines in the entire series, and that's when Billy is talking about the morphing masters because Fern doesn't know who they are. So after he gives a long-winded kind of explanation about this, Solaron just turns around and goes, they're space wizards with staffs. Absolutely thought this was funny. Thought this was a very interesting thing. I loved it. It's one of my favorite lines through the entire series. Another good point is the fact that the biofield from RPM is mentioned, and it was oh, that's cool. If you have not seen RPM, it would have just gone over your head, but I love the fact that they referenced RPM. Love it. A bad point is the way that Ion treats his friends, because it annoys me all the way through this, because to me personally, they're trying to get the antenna to work and he's like, oh, I'm just going after food. Even though he does say that he's going out to see if he can find food, the fact is that you think that the food could stay there as he goes and helps to kind of help it, because one other person could mean that the antenna works. But when they say, hey, we need your help, he's just like, oh no, the food, I'm getting the food and I'm dealing with this. And it just kind of irritates me. You know, at times I know that he's there for his like friends, but I feel like he's just, I'm doing this on my own, I don't care. And it's one of the character traits that he has that I do not like. Another bad point is when Ion gets bit by a scuttleworm. You know, he looks at his arms to kind of hold it, but there's no ripping in his clothes. So you think that with teeth that sharp that it would bite in and at least leave a mark on his arm. But it's just like, ow, look at that, I have nothing there. I generally thought it was a kind of an annoyance. Like there should have been at least some marks, even if they dirtied it up or whatever. I just feel like this was a little bit of a letdown in the way that you want to have, like, say, it's something to show. It's just, it got me a little bit. I'm like, it's nothing major, but it's just that little attention to detail that they could have put in, but they didn't. A good point in this is the fact that the Rangers are still able to use their weapons rather than being able to morph. And I kind of really like this. You generally think that if you have your entire like connection to the morphing grid off and all that, so you can't morph, or your weapons wouldn't be accessible, but they all are, and I think that's a really nice way. Otherwise the Rangers would have no way of being able to defend themselves, so that is a fantastic way. And I kind of wish that we saw a little bit more of them using like maybe pass keys. That would have worked, but so far that is a good point right there. Another good point is the fact that Harvey has super strength, and he backhands a scuttle worm in its adult form, which again was not expected to see, but I like that they put this in. I like the fact that they do little things like this, and to me it's just a nice little way of doing it. So nice, just generally a nice thing. Another good point is the name drop of the Rangers. So there's another little good point right there. Another good point is when they're watching the view screen, they're kind of getting information. Jane and Janeborg are giving a kind of a reporting stance on everything, saying that the Rangers are there fighting. They can't use their Zords because of the anti-Zord field. Again, I love the name drop, and also I'm going to give them another good point too, because when they talk to the cameraman, it's kind of like, don't drop that camera again. And even though it's kind of, it could be a bad point, I just find it funny because it's more like, serious, don't drop that camera like I told you last time, Greg. Come on. I don't know. I'm going to give that an extra good point right there. But we have another good point, and that is Commander Shaw being in this, talking about the Power Rangers and how the Grid Battle Force is doing their best to help out, but obviously everything is failing because of Lord Zed's like kind of aggressive stance on taking over the Earth and putting up all these fields and stuff. But the Rangers are trying to do their best. But I really like the fact that we get a cameo from Commander Shaw. I'm wondering if this was filmed at the time or if this was filmed a lot earlier on, like when she was in season 2 of Dino Fury. And that gets a good point. Another good point, Ollie still being evil. It's again not a thing where he turns around and says, oh, I'm now good, and they kind of like wrap it up early. No, he is still evil, and that gets a good point. We have an emotional point with Ion and Amelia. And the fact is that she actually talks to him rather than just like, hey, buddy, like, you know, you can do this. She actually goes through and says, hey, look, you've gone through an emotional time right now. If you need to talk, I'm here. Let's talk about things. Like, you can open up. You know, I'm here. I've lost as well. You know, I lost my boyfriend, but I know you lost your best friend. So, hey, let's just kind of talk about this. And I really think that this is worthy of a good point. Now we've got to come down to a bad point. And, this annoys me. I don't know why all of a sudden that you've got like Squillia and her minions kind of dancing. I know it's probably like a TikTok trend that they've put in, but it just feels weird. I'd rather that be done somewhere else if you're doing it, because Lord Zed's just watching going like, what the hell am I doing here? What the hell? And I do like the fact that he goes like, oh man, like, you know, I'm really too old for this. I just generally think that it shouldn't have been put in. It's really weird. And even though it kind of like adds into the next episode, I just really thought this wasn't worth putting in. Again, this is getting a big old bad point. A good point though is that Lord Zed mocks Squillia, so we're going to give that one a good point right there. Scrozzle. Carrying on with that good point, Billy now enters the room. He has a new device to give them the powers that uses the Morphing Master's staff, which I generally really like. The machine looks kind of cool, and it's one of those things that if a collector had it, you could have it on the side of the wall. It looks fantastic, and I would like to see someone make something like this. I generally like the whole thing of Billy saying, like, yeah, I've made the power. I want to keep with the theme of the dinosaurs as well. So this gets a good point. And then following on, we get the new morphers. So another good point. The way that the staff connects to the grid, the way that you see the grid being there, opening up for everyone to kind of bring out the cosmic orbs for the new morphers. I love it. I like this sort of thing, and I really wish we saw a little bit more of it. So a good old good point. I don't know why I'm pointing down like that. A good point is that we get the first morph that they all do, and we see the fact that they just put the cosmic orbs straight into the morpher. A good point right there. And coming up with our last good point is the fact that Amelia is the Red Ranger, and she thinks that she's still the Pink Ranger by saying like, oh my god, you know, I'm just a darker shade of pink. And everyone's saying this is what Zeta would have wanted. You've stepped up. And the fact is, it's not just given like in like the first episode or the second episode. She's actually really stepped up all the way through Dino Fury season 1 and 2, and the way that she is when it comes to Cosmic Fury. So it's a well-earned Red Ranger rather than just a, hey, we've just given you. the Red Ranger role. But to finish off the video, we have one bad point, and that is the fact that Billy is staying behind, and yet he doesn't do anything. He's got to stay there to help work on the ship and stuff, which really annoys me because I feel like this is the way that Billy is for most of the season. And that comes to the end of the video. I want to say a big thank you, and I appreciate you for being here, watching this video, interacting, and just doing everything on the channel. I really want to say thank you very much. And with that, I am going to bring this video to a close. If you like this sort of content, hit like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Check out the channel memberships as well as the Patreon. And yeah, thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening and watching. And with that, I am going to see you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimona Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができるよ。